The red dust of Mars swirled around Dr. Elena Vasquez's feet as she made her way across the barren landscape. Her breath fogged the inside of her helmet, a constant reminder of the hostile environment surrounding her. But today, none of that mattered. Today, they were on the verge of making history. How much further, Chen? Elena's voice crackled through the comm system. Dr. Chen Li's response came back, tinged with excitement. Just over this ridge, Elena. The readings are off the charts. The two scientists, part of the first long-term human expedition to Mars, had been following strange energy signatures for weeks. What they were about to discover would change the course of human history forever. As they crested the ridge, both scientists stopped in their tracks. Before them, half buried in the Martian soil, was a structure unlike anything they had ever seen. Its surface was a deep, iridescent blue that seemed to shift and move as they watched. Geometric patterns etched into its surface pulsed with an inner light. "My God," Elena whispered. "Chen, are you seeing this?" Chen was already moving towards the structure, his handheld scanner beeping frantically. "It's not made of any material we know of, Elena. And the energy readings, they're like nothing I've ever seen." As they approached, a section of the structure began to glow more intensely. Without warning, a beam of light shot out, enveloping both scientists. Elena felt a tingling sensation throughout her body, and for a moment she feared the worst. But as quickly as it had appeared, the light vanished. "Chen, are you all right?" Elena called out, her heart racing. "I'm fine," Chen replied, sounding dazed. "But Elena, I can understand it." "Understand what?" Chen gestured towards the structure. "The artifact. It's communicating with me somehow. In my mind, it's a database, Elena. A database of an entire alien civilization." Over the next few hours, Chen and Elena worked feverishly to document their findings. The artifact, they learned, was a repository of knowledge left behind by an ancient race called the Architects. This advanced civilization had seeded the galaxy with these databases, hoping to guide younger races towards enlightenment. As the Martian sun began to set, casting long shadows across the landscape, Elena and Chen realized the full implications of their discovery. Humanity was not alone in the universe, and they now had access to technology and knowledge beyond their wildest dreams. Back on Earth, news of the discovery spread like wildfire. Governments scrambled to assert control over the artifact, while the scientific community debated the ethical implications of accessing alien technology. In the midst of the chaos, a message from the artifact itself was deciphered, an invitation to join a galactic community of sentient races. Dr. Ava Patel, the lead xenolinguist at NASA, worked tirelessly to fully translate the artifact's message. "It's not just an invitation," she explained to a room full of world leaders and scientists. "It's a warning as well. The Architects speak of great dangers in the galaxy, of races that would seek to dominate or destroy younger civilizations." The United Nations convened an emergency session to decide humanity's response. After days of heated debate, a decision was reached. Earth would accept the invitation and take its first steps onto the galactic stage. In the months that followed, the artifact on Mars became a hub of activity. Scientists and engineers from around the world worked to unlock its secrets, making breakthrough after breakthrough. Faster than light travel, clean energy, advanced medical techniques, the possibilities seemed endless. But not everyone was thrilled with these developments. Captain Marcus Donovan of the United Earth Space Force watched the proceedings with a wary eye. "We're moving too fast," he argued in a high-level briefing. "We don't know what's waiting for us out there. We need to be prepared for anything." Despite the concerns, progress marched on. The first human-built starship, christened the UES Hope, was constructed using principles derived from the Architect database. As the ship prepared for its maiden voyage, a crew of Earth's best and brightest was assembled. Dr. Elena Vasquez, now hailed as one of the greatest scientists of her generation, was chosen to lead the scientific team. Captain Donovan, despite his reservations, was selected to command the mission. Together, they would represent humanity in its first official contact with alien life. On the day of the launch, millions around the world watched with bated breath as the UES Hope rose from its berth on the moon. As the ship activated its faster-than-light drive, Captain Donovan turned to his crew. "We stand on the brink of a new era," he said, his voice firm. "Whatever we face out there, we face it together. For Earth, for humanity, and for the future." With a flash of light, the UES Hope disappeared into the depths of space, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of an entire planet. Little did they know, their journey was about to take an unexpected turn. As the Hope traveled through the cosmos, they'd picked up a distress signal from a nearby star system. The signal was weak, barely detectable, but it was unmistakably artificial. Captain Donovan called a meeting of the ship's senior staff. "We have a decision to make," he said, looking around the table. "Our mission parameters don't cover this situation. Do we investigate or continue to our original destination?" Dr. Vasquez leaned forward, her eyes bright with curiosity. "We can't ignore this, Captain. It could be our first contact with a living alien species. The scientific potential is enormous." The ship's tactical officer, Lieutenant Zara Malik, voiced her concerns. "It could also be a trap. We should proceed with caution." After much debate, the decision was made to investigate the signal. The Hope dropped out of FTL near a small, rocky planet orbiting a red dwarf star. As they approached, they detected signs of an advanced civilization and evidence of a recent catastrophe. The planet's surface was scarred with impact craters, and clouds of debris orbited the world. But amidst the destruction, the Hope's sensors detected a single point of intact technology, the source of the distress signal. A team was assembled for a surface mission. As they descended in the shuttle, the true scale of the devastation became clear. An entire civilization had been wiped out, leaving only ruins and silence. At the signal's source, they found a lone survivor, a being unlike anything they had ever seen. Its body was a swirling mass of energy contained within a translucent, humanoid form. It communicated telepathically, its thoughts tinged with desperation and relief. "You came," it projected into their minds. "We feared no one would hear us." The alien, who called itself Zin, told a harrowing tale. Their people, the Lumina, had been attacked by an aggressive species known as the Void Hunters. These beings consumed the energy of entire civilizations, leaving dead worlds in their wake. "We were not their first victims," Zin explained, "and we will not be their last. Your world, your people, all energy-based life in the galaxy is at risk." As the team reported back to the Hope, the weight of their discovery settled over the crew. They had set out to join a galactic community, only to find themselves on the front lines of an interstellar war. Captain Donovan addressed the crew, his voice resolute. "We came seeking knowledge and friendship. Instead, we found a threat to everything we hold dear. But we are not helpless. We carry with us the legacy of the architects and the ingenuity of humanity. Together, we will face this threat and we will prevail." As the UES Hope prepared to return to Earth with their urgent warning, the crew knew that the future of humanity, and perhaps the entire galaxy, now rested on their shoulders. The journey that had begun with an artifact on Mars was about to take humanity on an adventure beyond their wildest imaginations. The galactic stage, 2,000 words. The return of the UES Hope to Earth marked the beginning of a new era for humanity. The news of the Void Hunters and the destruction of the Luminous civilization sent shockwaves through every nation. The world's leaders, once divided by petty differences, now found themselves united by a common threat. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood before the United Nations Security Council, her voice steady as she delivered her report. "The threat we face is unlike anything in human history. The Void Hunters don't just destroy civilizations, they consume them, leaving dead worlds in their wake." Captain Marcus Donovan, standing at her side, added, "We need to prepare, not just for our own defense, but for the defense of other civilizations that might fall victim to these predators." The debate that followed was intense, but surprisingly brief. Within days, the United Earth Defense Initiative was formed, a global effort to advance human technology and build a fleet capable of standing against the Void Hunters. As humanity raced to prepare itself, the architect artifact on Mars continued to yield its secrets. Dr. Chen Li, working tirelessly with a team of the world's best scientists, made breakthrough after breakthrough. The architects left us more than just knowledge, Chen announced during a global broadcast. They left us a map, coordinates to other civilizations that might help us in our fight. The UES Hope, now joined by a small fleet of newly constructed starships, set out once again into the depths of space. Their mission was twofold: to warn other civilizations of the Void Hunter threat, and to seek allies in the coming conflict. Their first destination was a binary star system, home to a species known as the Etheri. As the Hope dropped out of FTL, the crew gasped at the sight before them. Massive crystalline structures orbited the twin suns, each one teeming with life and energy. "It's beautiful," Dr. Vasquez whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. Captain Donovan, ever cautious, reminded the crew of their mission. "Remember, we're here as diplomats and messengers. Let's hope they're willing to listen." The Etheri, it turned out, were more than willing to listen. A species of energy beings not unlike the Lumina, they had long feared the coming of the Void Hunters. The arrival of the humans, bearing both a warning and the legacy of the architects, was seen as a sign of hope. Verex, the leader of the Etheri Council, addressed the human delegation. His form shimmered and pulsed as he spoke, his thoughts translated by the advanced technology derived from the architect database. "For too long we have hidden in fear of the hunters," Verex proclaimed. "But no longer. With the knowledge you bring and the strength of our combined civilizations, we may yet stand a chance." The alliance between humans and Etheri was just the beginning. As the Earth fleet continued its journey, they encountered more civilizations, each unique and wondrous in its own way. The Zorathi, a race of silicon-based lifeforms who communicated through complex vibrations. The Mycelians, a fungal hive mind that spanned entire planets. The quantum collectives, beings that existed simultaneously across multiple dimensions. Some civilizations joined the alliance eagerly, while others required more convincing. But with each new ally, the coalition against the Void Hunters grew stronger. Back on Earth, the pace of advancement was staggering. Cities were transformed as new technologies were implemented. The first human colonies on other worlds were established, not just within the solar system, but on distant habitable planets. Yet even as humanity reached for the stars, the shadow of the Void Hunters loomed. Reports began to trickle in of worlds going dark, of entire civilizations vanishing without a trace. In response, the coalition established the Galactic Defense Network, a system of advanced sensors and rapid response fleets designed to detect and counter Void Hunter attacks. The UES Hope, now under the command of the newly promoted Admiral Donovan, served as the flagship of this interstellar armada. Dr. Vasquez, for her part, led a team of multi-species scientists in studying the Void Hunters, seeking to understand their nature and hopefully find a weakness. Their research facility, a massive space station named Sanctuary, became a beacon of cooperation and scientific advancement. It was on Sanctuary that the first major breakthrough came. Dr. Vasquez and her team discovered that the Void Hunters weren't simply consuming energy. They were feeding on the very essence of sentient life itself. "They're not just predators," Elena explained to a gathering of coalition leaders. "They're parasites on a cosmic scale. They don't just destroy civilizations. They feed on their potential, their future." This revelation was met with a mix of horror and determination. The stakes, already high, had just been raised even further. As the coalition prepared for the inevitable confrontation with the Void Hunters, tensions began to emerge. Some species, afraid of drawing attention to themselves, advocated for a more defensive stance. Others, like the warrior race Krell, pushed for an all-out offensive. Humanity often found itself in the role of mediator, balancing the diverse viewpoints of their alien allies. Admiral Donovan's diplomatic skills were tested as much as his military acumen. "We're stronger together," he often reminded the Coalition Council. "Our diversity is our strength. The Void Hunters may be powerful, but they're a single entity. We are many, each with our own strengths and perspectives." Despite the challenges, the Coalition continued to grow and prepare. New weapons were developed, combining technologies from multiple species, shields that could withstand the energy-draining attacks of the Hunters, sensors capable of detecting their approach across vast distances. But even as they prepared, the Void Hunters struck. A distress call came in from a distant outpost. The Hunters had been spotted approaching a populated system. Admiral Donovan didn't hesitate. "All ships, prepare for immediate departure. This is what we've been training for." As the Coalition fleet assembled, a tense silence fell over the crews. For many, this would be their first direct encounter with the dreaded Void Hunters. The journey to the threatened system was fraught with tension. Each member of the fleet knew that the fate of not just one world, but potentially the entire galaxy, rested on the outcome of this battle. As they dropped out of FTL on the edge of the system, the sight that greeted them was chilling. A massive, dark shape loomed over the inhabited planet, tendrils of crackling energy reaching down to the surface. "By the architects," someone whispered on the Hope's bridge. Admiral Donovan's voice cut through the shocked silence. "All ships, battle formations. Remember your training. We fight not just for ourselves, but for every sentient being in this galaxy." As the Coalition fleet moved to engage, the Void Hunter turned its attention to them. It was a terrifying sight, a writhing mass of darkness that seemed to devour the very light around it. The battle that followed was like nothing humanity had ever experienced. Energy weapons lanced across space, shields flared and failed, and ships on both sides were torn apart by forces beyond comprehension. In the midst of the chaos, Dr. Vasquez, aboard the Sanctuary, made a crucial discovery. "The Hunter's energy signature," she called out, her voice filled with excitement despite the dire situation. "It's not uniform. There are fluctuations, weak points." This information, quickly relayed to the fleet, turned the tide of the battle. Focusing their attacks on these weak points, the Coalition forces began to push the Void Hunter back. In a final, desperate assault, Admiral Donovan led a strike team directly into the heart of the creature. The inside of the Void Hunter was a nightmare realm of twisted physics and raw, consuming energy. But the team pressed on, planting charges at key points identified by Dr. Vasquez's research. As they retreated, the charges detonated. The Void Hunter writhed in agony, its form collapsing in on itself. In a final, blinding flash, it imploded, leaving behind nothing but scattered debris and a profound silence. The victory was hard won, and the cost had been high. Many ships and lives had been lost in the battle, but they had done it. They had defeated a Void Hunter. As the fleet regrouped and began rescue operations for the affected planet, a new sense of hope spread through the Coalition. They had faced their greatest fear and emerged victorious. Admiral Donovan addressed the assembled fleet, his voice tired but filled with pride. "Today, we have proven that the Void Hunters can be defeated, but this is just the beginning. There are more out there, and they will come. But when they do, they'll find us ready, not as separate species, but as a united galaxy, standing together against the darkness." As news of the victory spread, celebrations erupted across Coalition space. On Earth, crowds filled the streets, cheering for the heroes who had saved not just humanity, but countless other civilizations. But in quiet rooms and secret meetings, leaders and scientists knew that the war was far from over. The Void Hunters would return, possibly in greater numbers. And beyond them, who knew what other threats lurked in the vast expanses of the universe. For now, though, they had hope. Humanity had taken its place on the galactic stage, not as conquerors or victims, but as defenders and unifiers. Whatever challenges lay ahead, They would face them together, a united front against the darkness that threatened to consume them all. As the coalition fleet made its way home, carrying with it the scars of battle and the pride of victory, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter. The galaxy was still a dangerous place, full of wonders and terrors beyond imagination. But humanity had found its place in it, standing tall among the stars, ready to face whatever the future might bring. The Prothean threat, 2,000 words. The celebration of victory over the Void Hunter was short-lived. As the coalition forces regrouped and analyzed the data from the battle, a chilling realization dawned upon them. The Void Hunter they had defeated was merely a scout, an advance guard for something far more terrifying. Dr. Elena Vasquez pored over the data in her lab aboard Sanctuary Station, her face illuminated by holographic displays. "Admiral," she called out to Donovan, who had just entered the room, "you need to see this." As Donovan approached, Elena manipulated the hologram, expanding a complex energy signature. This isn't just random noise in the Void Hunter's death throes. It's a signal, a call back to its origin. Donovan's brow furrowed. "Are you saying there are more of them out there?" Elena nodded grimly. "Not just more. I think we're dealing with an entire civilization. The Void Hunters aren't just predators, they're tools, weapons wielded by something far more intelligent and dangerous." The revelation sent shockwaves through the coalition. Emergency meetings were called, and soon the leaders of every allied species were gathered on Sanctuary to discuss this new threat. It was during one of these meetings that they received the first transmission. The holographic projector in the center of the room crackled to life, revealing a being unlike any they had encountered before. Its form was vaguely humanoid, but composed of swirling dark energy, with multiple eyes that glowed with an otherworldly intelligence. Inhabitants of this galaxy, the being spoke, its voice resonating in their minds rather than their ears. "We are the Protheans. For eons, we have watched your pitiful civilizations struggle and grow. Now, you have drawn our attention by destroying one of our harvesters." The room was dead silent as the Prothean continued. "Know this, your resistance is futile. We have consumed countless galaxies, and yours will be no different. Prepare yourselves, for the harvest is coming." As the transmission cut off, chaos erupted in the meeting room. Species that had been united in victory now turned on each other in fear and anger. Accusations flew, blame was cast, and for a moment, it seemed as though the coalition might fracture under the weight of this new threat. It was Admiral Donovan who finally restored order. Standing tall, his voice cut through the noise. "Enough. This is exactly what they want, to divide us, to make us easy prey. We faced impossible odds before, and we've triumphed. We can do it again, but only if we stand together." His words had the desired effect. As the panic subsided, the coalition leaders began to focus on strategy. The Etheri proposed using their advanced sensor networks to track Prothean movements. The Zorathi offered their expertise in energy manipulation to develop new weapons. The quantum collectives suggested using their multi-dimensional existence to gather intelligence across different realities. Humanity, for its part, proposed a daring plan. "We need to take the fight to them," Donovan said, pointing to a star map. "If we can locate their home base, we might have a chance to end this threat before it truly begins." The plan was risky, but with few other options, the coalition agreed. A special task force was assembled, with the UES Hope at its center. Dr. Vasquez and her team would accompany them, using advanced sensors to try and trace the origin of the Prothean signal. As the task force prepared to depart, reports began coming in from the edges of known space. Entire systems were going dark, their populations vanishing without a trace. The Prothean harvest had begun. The journey into unknown space was tense. Every member of the crew knew that they were venturing into the heart of enemy territory, with little idea of what they might find. As they traveled, they encountered the aftermath of Prothean attacks, dead worlds, their energy completely drained, floating lifelessly in the void. It was during their survey of one such world that they made a startling discovery. Dr. Vasquez, scanning the planet's surface, detected a faint energy signature. "It's weak," she reported, "but it's definitely not Prothean. I think someone survived." A team was sent to investigate, and what they found changed everything. In a hidden underground bunker, they discovered a survivor, not of the planet's native species, but of a civilization that had fallen to the Protheans eons ago. The survivor, a being of pure energy calling itself San, had been in stasis for millions of years. As the team revived San, it shared a history that left them stunned. "The Protheans," San explained, its voice weak but filled with ancient wisdom, "were once like us, seekers of knowledge and explorers of the cosmos. But they discovered something, a terrible secret about the nature of the universe." According to San, the Protheans had found evidence that the universe was cyclical, destined to collapse and be reborn in an endless cycle. In their arrogance, they decided to break this cycle. They believed that by consuming enough energy, the very essence of life and consciousness, they could prevent the universe's collapse and achieve eternal existence. But their actions are hastening the very end they seek to prevent, San warned. Each civilization they consume brings the universe closer to its final moments. This revelation added a new urgency to the Coalition's mission. They weren't just fighting for their own survival now, but for the very existence of the universe itself. With San's help, the task force was able to pinpoint the location of the Prothean home world. As they approached, they were met with a sight that defied comprehension. The Prothean world was a massive construct, a Dyson sphere that enclosed an entire star, feeding off its energy. By the architects, Donovan breathed, staring at the view screen in awe and horror. Before they could formulate a plan of attack, they were detected. Swarms of void hunters emerged from the Dyson sphere, heading straight for the Coalition fleet. What followed was a battle unlike any in the history of the galaxy. The Coalition ships fought with everything they had, their weapons charged with the combined knowledge and technology of a dozen species. But the Protheans were ancient and powerful, their defenses seemingly impenetrable. As the battle raged, Dr. Vasquez made a crucial discovery. "The Dyson sphere," she called out, her voice filled with excitement despite the dire situation. "It's not just gathering energy, it's storing it. If we could overload it somehow." Donovan understood immediately. "We could turn their own weapon against them." A plan was quickly formulated. While the main fleet engaged the Void Hunters, a small strike team led by Donovan would infiltrate the Dyson sphere. Their mission: to override the energy containment systems and cause a catastrophic overload. The insertion was harrowing. Donovan's team fought their way through corridors of twisted space-time, facing Prothean defenses that seemed to defy the laws of physics. But with each step, they drew closer to their goal. Finally, they reached the central control chamber. As Donovan's team worked to override the systems, they were confronted by a Prothean leader, a being of such immense power that its very presence warped reality around it. "Foolish creatures," the Prothean's voice boomed in their minds. "You cannot hope to comprehend, let alone stop, what we have set in motion." But Donovan stood his ground. "We understand more than you think," he retorted. "We know about the cycle, about your fear of the end, but this isn't the answer. You're destroying everything in a futile attempt to save yourselves." As Donovan spoke, distracting the Prothean, Dr. Vasquez worked feverishly at the controls. With a final command, she initiated the overload. The chamber began to shake, energy surging uncontrollably through the Dyson sphere. The Prothean leader's form began to destabilize, its confidence giving way to fear for the first time in eons. "What have you done?" it cried out as its form began to dissolve. Donovan's team raced back to their ship, the Dyson sphere collapsing around them. They barely made it out as the construct imploded, releasing a burst of energy that lit up the galaxy. As the light faded, the Coalition fleet regrouped, assessing the damage. The Prothean threat had been neutralized, but at a great cost. Many ships and lives had been lost in the battle. Aboard the UAS Hope, Admiral Donovan addressed the survivors. Today, we faced an enemy that threatened not just our civilizations, but the very fabric of the universe. We stood together, and we triumphed. But our work is not done. There may be other Prothean outposts out there, other threats we have yet to face. But whatever comes, we will face it united. As the Coalition fleet began the long journey home, they carried with them not just the scars of battle, but a new understanding of their place in the cosmos. They had saved the universe from a threat beyond imagination, and in doing so, had forged bonds that would last for eons to come. Back on Earth, and on countless worlds across the galaxy, beings of all species looked up at the stars with a new perspective. The universe was vast and full of dangers, yes, but it was also full of wonders, of allies yet to be met, of mysteries yet to be unraveled. And humanity, once a species confined to a single world, now stood tall among the stars, ready to face whatever challenges the future might bring. In the wake of the Prothean defeat, the galaxy entered a period of relative peace. The Coalition, forged in the fires of conflict, now turned its attention to rebuilding and exploration. But for humanity, the challenges were far from over. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood before the United Earth Council, her holographic form flickering slightly as she delivered her report from Sanctuary Station. "The threat of the Protheans may be neutralized," she began, her voice steady but tinged with concern, "but their legacy remains. The damage they've done to the fabric of spacetime is extensive." Images flashed behind her, showing regions of space warped and twisted by Prothean technology. If left unchecked, these distortions could lead to the very universal collapse the Protheans sought to prevent. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Admiral Donovan, now serving as Earth's representative to the Coalition, spoke up. "What are our options, Doctor?" Elena's expression was grim. "We need to develop new technologies, ways to manipulate space-time on a scale we've never attempted before. It's not just about repairing the damage. We need to strengthen the very foundations of our universe." The challenge was daunting, but humanity had never been one to shy away from the impossible. Over the next few years, Earth became a hub of scientific innovation. The best minds from across the Coalition gathered to tackle the problem, with humans often leading the charge. Dr. Chen Li, working with a team of ethery energy manipulators, developed the first prototype of a space-time stabilizer. The device, roughly the size of a small moon, could project a field that reinforced the local laws of physics, preventing further degradation. Meanwhile, Captain Zara Malik, drawing on her experiences in the battle against the Protheans, proposed a radical new form of propulsion. "If we can harness the energy of these space-time distortions," she explained to a room full of skeptical engineers, "we could potentially travel vast distances almost instantaneously." Her theory led to the development of the Rift Drive, a technology that would revolutionize space travel and exploration. But perhaps the most groundbreaking development came from an unexpected source. A young prodigy named Alex Chen, barely out of their teens, proposed a solution that left even the most experienced scientists stunned. "We've been thinking about this all wrong," Alex explained, their eyes bright with excitement. "We're trying to fix the universe from the outside, but what if we could do it from the inside?" Alex's idea was as brilliant as it was dangerous. By creating a network of quantum-entangled particles spread across the galaxy, they proposed to create a sort of cosmic mesh that could distribute the strain of space-time distortions evenly, preventing any one area from becoming too unstable. The project, dubbed Operation Spiderweb, was met with both enthusiasm and trepidation. The scale was unprecedented, requiring cooperation from every member of the Coalition and beyond. As preparations for Operation Spiderweb began, humanity found itself at the forefront of galactic affairs. Earth's shipyards worked around the clock, producing vessels equipped with the new Rift drives. These ships would be responsible for deploying the quantum-entangled particles across the galaxy. Admiral Donovan, overseeing the operation from the newly constructed Nexus station in Earth orbit, couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Who would have thought? he mused to Dr. Vasquez, that less than a century after our first steps into space, we'd be leading an effort to save the entire universe. Elena smiled, though her eyes betrayed her concern. It's a testament to human ingenuity, Marcus. But we're not out of the woods yet. The deployment phase is going to be dangerous. She was right. As the operation began, the ships encountered numerous challenges. Some regions of space were so heavily distorted that they defied navigation. Others seemed to actively resist the stabilizing effects of the quantum particles. But for every setback, there was a breakthrough. The Zorethi, with their unique ability to perceive vibrations across vast distances, proved invaluable in mapping the most unstable regions. The quantum collectives provided insights from alternate realities, helping to predict and prevent potential catastrophes. And through it all, humanity's adaptability and determination shone through. When a particularly violent space-time rift threatened to tear apart an entire sector, it was a human crew aboard the UES Horizon that came up with an on-the-spot solution, using their rift drive in reverse to stitch the fabric of space back together. As the operation progressed, changes began to manifest across the galaxy. Regions once considered too dangerous to traverse became stable. Long-lost colonies, cut off by space-time distortions, were rediscovered and reintegrated into the galactic community. But the work was far from over. As the initial deployment neared completion, Dr. Vasquez made a troubling discovery. The quantum mesh is working, she reported to the Coalition Council, but it's not self-sustaining. We need to find a way to power it indefinitely, or we'll be right back where we started in a few centuries. The search for a sustainable power source became the Coalition's new priority. Proposals ranged from harnessing the energy of black holes to creating artificial stars. But it was Alex Chen, once again, who proposed the most audacious solution. "We're thinking too small," they declared during a heated debate. "We shouldn't be looking for a power source within our universe. We need to tap into the energy between universes." The idea was met with shock and skepticism. Interdimensional energy extraction was purely theoretical, and many argued that it could be just as dangerous as the Protheans' attempts to harness universal energies. But Alex was persistent. Working with a team of the galaxy's most brilliant minds, including several non-human species with unique perspectives on dimensional physics, they developed a prototype interdimensional tap. The first test was conducted in a remote system, far from any inhabited worlds. As the device activated, those present held their breath. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a flash of light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, a stream of pure energy began to flow into our universe. The power output was beyond anything they had ever seen. More importantly, it seemed to have no negative effects on local space-time. In fact, the surrounding area appeared more stable than ever. As news of the successful test spread, a wave of hope swept through the Coalition. They had done it. They had found a way to not only repair the damage done by the Protheans, but to strengthen the very foundations of their universe. The implementation of the interdimensional power network took years, but with each new tap brought online, the effects were clear. The quantum mesh grew stronger, space-time distortions began to heal, and travel across the galaxy became safer and faster than ever before. But even as they celebrated their success, humanity and their allies remained vigilant. They had learned the hard way that the universe was full of wonders and terrors beyond imagination. Who knew what new challenges might arise from the depths of space, or even from the dimensions they now tapped for energy? In response to these potential threats, the Coalition established the Cosmic Guard, an organization dedicated to monitoring and protecting the quantum mesh and interdimensional taps. Admiral Donovan, seeing an opportunity to ensure lasting peace, proposed that the Cosmic Guard be staffed by members of all Coalition species, fostering continued cooperation and understanding. As the first class of Cosmic Guard recruits began their training, there was a sense of optimism that hadn't been felt since the early days of the Coalition. Humanity, once a fledgling spacefaring species, had played a crucial role in safeguarding the future of the entire universe. Dr. Elena Vasquez, watching the graduation ceremony of the first Cosmic Guard class, felt a swell of pride. Among the graduates were humans, Etheri, Zorathi, and dozens of other species, all working together towards a common goal. "We've come so far," she murmured to herself. Besides her, Alex Chen, now a respected scientist in their own right, nodded in agreement. But there's still so much to explore, so much to discover. As if in response to their words, an alert chimed on Elena's communicator. A Rift-Drive ship, pushing the boundaries of explored space, had picked up an unusual signal, something that didn't match any known pattern. Elena and Alex shared a look of excitement and apprehension. The galaxy, it seemed, still had plenty of surprises in store, but whatever lay ahead, humanity and their allies were ready to face it together, armed with their greatest weapon, the power of ingenuity and cooperation. The final battle, 2,000 words. The mysterious signal detected at the edge of known space was not a fleeting anomaly as many had hoped. Over the following months, similar signals were picked up across the galaxy, always just beyond the reach of the Coalition's most advanced sensors. The Cosmic Guard, led by Admiral Donovan, worked tirelessly to decode these transmissions, but their efforts yielded little progress. It was Dr. Elena Vasquez who finally made the breakthrough. Working with a team of quantum collective scientists, she managed to isolate a pattern within the seemingly random noise. "It's a countdown," she announced to a stunned Coalition Council. "And if our calculations are correct, it's nearly complete." The revelation sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Emergency protocols were activated, and the Coalition fleet was mobilized to full strength for the first time since the Prothean War. As the final days of the countdown ticked away, a tense silence fell over the galaxy. Then, just as the countdown reached 0, it happened. Across the universe, rifts began to open, tears in the very fabric of reality. From these rifts emerged beings of pure energy, similar in appearance to the Protheans, but far more advanced. They called themselves the Transcended, and their message was clear. The Coalition's meddling with interdimensional energy had attracted their attention, and they were here to claim this universe as their own. The first attacks were devastating. Entire systems fell within hours, their defenses overwhelmed by technology that seemed to defy the laws of physics. The Coalition fleet, despite its advanced weaponry and tactics, found itself outmatched at every turn. In a desperate bid for survival, Admiral Donovan called for a strategic retreat. "We need time," he argued to the Coalition Council. "Time to analyze their technology, to find a weakness." As the Coalition forces fell back, consolidating their defenses around key systems, Dr. Vasquez and her team worked feverishly to understand the Transcended's capabilities. It was Alex Chen who made the crucial connection. "The interdimensional taps," they exclaimed, bursting into Elena's lab. "The Transcended aren't just using them to enter our universe, they're using them as weapons." The realization was both terrifying and promising. The very technology that had saved their universe was now being used against them. But it also meant that the Coalition wasn't starting from scratch. They already had a fundamental understanding of the principles at work. With this knowledge, a plan began to form. If they could find a way to disrupt the Transcended's control over the interdimensional energy, they might stand a chance. The plan was daring, perhaps even foolhardy. It would require a small team to infiltrate the Transcended's command ship, a massive construct that seemed to exist partially outside of normal space-time, and reconfigure its interdimensional tap to create a feedback loop. "If we can overload their systems," Alex explained, "we might be able to force them back to their own dimension and seal the rifts behind them." The risks were enormous. The team would be venturing into hostile territory with experimental technology and little hope of rescue if things went wrong. But with the fate of the universe hanging in the balance, there was no other choice. Admiral Donovan insisted on leading the mission himself. "I won't ask anyone to take a risk I'm not willing to take myself," he declared. Dr. Vasquez and Alex Chen volunteered immediately, along with a select group of specialists from various coalition species. As the infiltration team made their final preparations, the rest of the coalition fleet readied itself for one last, desperate battle. Their goal: to create a diversion massive enough to allow Donovan's team to slip through the Transcended's defenses. The day of the operation dawned with a sense of grim determination. As the coalition fleet engaged the Transcended Armada, Donovan's team slipped away in a specially modified ship, its hull coated with exotic particles designed to mask their approach. The battle that ensued was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Coalition ships, piloted by crews who knew this might be their last stand, fought with unparalleled courage and ingenuity. Ethery cruisers phased in and out of reality, striking at the transcended ships before vanishing again. Zorathy vessels used their mastery of vibrations to create localized space-time distortions, trapping enemy ships in temporal bubbles. And at the heart of it all, humanity's ships led the charge, their rift drives allowing them to dance between the stars, striking at the enemy from impossible angles. But despite their valor, the coalition forces were being slowly but surely overwhelmed. The Transcended's technology was simply too advanced, their numbers too great. Aboard the Transcended command ship, Donovan's team fought their own desperate battle. The interior of the vessel was a maze of non-Euclidean geometry, where the laws of physics seemed more like gentle suggestions than hard rules. "This way," Elena called out, her senses guiding them through the shifting corridors. The central tap should be just ahead. As they approached their target, they encountered increasing resistance. Transcended guards, beings of pure energy that could phase through solid matter, attacked from all sides. Alex, wielding a device of their own design, managed to create localized pockets of stable space-time, temporarily solidifying the guards and allowing the team to fight back. But it was a losing battle. For every guard they neutralized, two more seemed to take its place. Finally, they reached the central chamber. The interdimensional tap at its heart was a sight to behold, a swirling vortex of energy that seemed to connect to a million different realities at once. "Cover me," Alex shouted, rushing towards the control interface. "I need time to reconfigure the tap." As the rest of the team formed a defensive perimeter, Alex worked feverishly, their fingers flying over alien controls. Sweat beaded on their brow as they raced against time, the sounds of battle growing ever closer. Just as the last of their defenses were about to crumble, Alex let out a triumphant cry. "It's done. Brace yourselves." The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The vortex at the heart of the ship began to pulse erratically, tendrils of energy lashing out in all directions. The ship itself started to shake, its impossible geometry beginning to collapse in on itself. "We need to get out of here," Donovan shouted over the din. "Back to the ship, now." As they ran, the world around them began to unravel. Corridors twisted and warped, gravity shifted unpredictably, and the very air seemed to crackle with uncontrolled energy. They reached their ship just as the command vessel began to implode. As they sped away, they watched in awe as the massive construct collapsed into a singularity, taking a significant portion of the Transcended fleet with it. Across the battlefield, the effect rippled outward. Transcended ships began to malfunction, their control over interdimensional energy disrupted. The rifts that had allowed them entry into this universe began to close, sucking the invaders back to their own reality. As the last of the Transcended vanished and the final rift sealed itself, a stunned silence fell over the coalition fleet. Then, slowly at first but building to a crescendo, cheers erupted across every channel. They had done it. Against all odds, facing an enemy of unimaginable power, they had emerged victorious. As Donovan's team rejoined the fleet, the full scale of their accomplishment began to sink in. They hadn't just won a battle, they had fundamentally altered the nature of reality itself, sealing off their universe from extra-dimensional threats. In the days that followed, as the coalition began the long process of rebuilding, there was a sense of renewed purpose. They had faced their greatest challenge and emerged stronger for it. Humanity, once again, had played a pivotal role in saving not just their own species, but all life in the universe. But this time, they hadn't done it alone. It was the combined strength, intelligence, and courage of all coalition species that had carried the day. As Admiral Donovan stood before the Coalition Council to deliver his final report, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and hope for the future. "We have faced threats beyond imagination," he began, his voice carrying across the chamber. "We have stared into the abyss of cosmic destruction and emerged victorious. But our greatest achievement is not the enemies we defeated or the technologies we developed. It's the bonds we forged, the understanding we've reached across species and cultures." He paused, looking out at the assembled representatives of a united galaxy. "Whatever challenges the future may hold, we will face them together, not as humans or Etheri or Zorathi, but as citizens of a united cosmos. Today, we have proven that there is no force in this universe, or any other, that can stand against us when we stand together." As applause filled the chamber, Donovan knew that this was not an end, but a beginning. The galaxy, the universe itself, lay open before them, filled with mysteries to unravel and wonders to explore, and they would face it all united, bound by the unbreakable bonds forged in the crucible of their greatest,